fine. No, I think it works. Okay, so I'm wearing my Barbie pink. Okay, let's just get started.
You're very Barbie-esque.
Very Barbie-esque. Hi, Barry. Good to see you. It's been a while.
A long time.
Did you watch that TV show, Barry? Barry. Have you seen Barry, the TV show?
I did watch. I watched the first season. That was all.
Wasn't that a great show?
Oh, fantastic.
I loved it. It's good to see you again. I didn't realize how much you've done with like acting. You're a multi-hyphenate like me. You're an accomplished actor, acting coach. And you've also written some stuff too. And you're like a real actor though, as well. Like some people say they act and they always play the same character. You know what I mean? Those type of actors, but you're an actual real actor and you can play different parts.
It's what I've been doing for the last 40 years.
And you acted alongside Al Pacino, I saw, Lindsay Lohan, and you recently did Shameless.
Sean Connery.
And you were in the Howard Stern movie, which was very iconic.
Absolutely iconic.
I remember going to that movie and my parents took me. I was younger. My mom didn't realize how sexual it was. She was like very uncomfortable during that sexual scene. But yeah, that was a great movie.
I took my 13-year-old nephew and I wanted him to hold up a sign that said, "My uncle's in the movie."
Okay.
Because it was way too sexual for a 13-year-old.
Yeah, it was. I remember that. I guess a lot of stuff, it's interesting. It was a different time. A lot of stuff he used to say would be cancel culture now.
Cancelable? Yep.
How do you say that word? Yeah. But yeah. Speaking of cancel culture, who's the worst actor you've worked with? No, I'm just kidding. Let's cancel someone. I'm just kidding. Okay. But
I love actors.
Yes, aren't we great? I love actors too. I started out acting and I'm still acting. I used to hate auditioning because it was so nerve-wracking. But I've gotten used to it over the years. But I used to be so nervous to audition. Do you have any like horrible audition stories or?
Well, it's interesting. I think Uta Hagen helped me out with that the most because she said to me, "This is just 5 minutes of your life." And I thought to myself, what could be greater than 5 minutes auditioning in front of Uta Hagen? And it was spectacular. So I don't think I've ever been nervous auditioning, especially if I can, make strong choices that work. When I make strong choices that work, then it's really easy for me to audition and not to get nervous.
So I think for me, what helps is reading the script over and over and just and memorizing it too, right? That's what I learned. Like as far as
it's always good to to get out of your head because the more you memorize, the more you're out of your head.
And the less you're like, what's the next line? Like thinking about, right. And you also have acted, or you coached actors on set too. You've been on set. How does that work? Like, so they're like, cut. And is it just established actors or maybe new actors that don't know how to act or both?
No, I think it's everybody. You see, the one thing that I found is that all actors, want advice. So I've worked with Dennis Quaid. I've worked with Jamie Foxx. I've worked with Lou Kirby, who just won an Emmy this year. I've worked with a lot of people who are very established and really good at what they do. But, it's like a third eye. I always think of myself as a secondary director.
Okay, so right. That's so on set. So they basically do you work alongside the director on that note on set? Does the director give you notes? Then you give the actor notes, or how does
it matters the director that I work with. I work with Gus Van Sant a lot.
Okay.
And Gus is fantastic. He sort of just lets me have free reign of the set, so I can go to the actors and talk to them and tell them what I think. Some other directors I've worked with, they prefer that I go through them, and that's what I do. I shot a film in Chicago, and it was a difficult film to shoot. So every time, for every scene, I went through the director and said, "Listen, I'd like to make this adjustment or that adjustment," and then he, just say, "Go ahead, do that."
Okay. I've noticed, over the years being on sets, the actors have kind of taken it upon themselves to direct themselves almost. I think
I
that's
think 9 times out of 10, as an actor, I'm very rarely directed by a director. I have to come to the set prepared. If I am directed by a director, it's a plus. It's a bonus. Lately, I did 5 films with a director named Thomas Churchill, and he loves working with actors, and I really enjoyed working with Thomas. But there are other directors that I've worked with, very famous directors, who think that their job is to cast right, and they're right. And then so basically, I have to make sure I come to set prepared to do what I want to do.
cool. And you were also on a Happy Madison production with Adam Sandler. That's cool.
Yeah, I love Adam. And
which movie was that? Did you work on?
It was called The Dana and Julia Show.
Okay.
And it was really fantastic because, we had Kevin Nealon. Adam loves to cast his friends. And so we had a lot of Adam's friends. And it was, I think it was before its time, because it was a Warner Brothers pilot that wasn't picked up, and it should have been. If it was done today, I think it would have been. But it was, it was 10 years ago. So it wasn't picked up. But Dana and Julia are fantastic, and Adam loves them. He puts them in all of his movies.
And you actually you were in a show called Swan's Crossing. You were a series regular, but it didn't last. What happened with that show? Did it?
We did 65 episodes.
Okay.
And which was fantastic. And then we were sort of taken off the air because Saved by the Bell was.
Oh wow. Okay.
But we were like one of Fox's first shows, and it was myself and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Mira Savino, and we had a lot of fun. I still get checks for that, which is a nice thing.
Oh, nice. What do you think about this strike? How long do you think it's going to last? It's good, but it's good that it's happening finally, right?
Right. I think it's very important, and I thought it was going to be a quicker strike than it is. I thought that once they started, the producers started to feel the impact in their pocketbook, it would end. But what I found out is that they don't really care about money. I mean, Sony makes its money from electronics, and, Universal makes its money in different ways. So, unfortunately, they're not concerned about the money that they're losing. Maybe their stockbrokers will be, and we'll see what happens. But I think it's a really important strike. Just a quick note on the strike. The NFL, the players make 44% of the gate. In Major League Baseball, the players make 48% of the gate. We make 3% of the gate. So us as actors are taken advantage of.
Right. No, for sure. Artists definitely aren't. I mean, even comedians. And I think people are surprised at how little actors are actually getting paid. Even people, you see and are recognizable. It's pretty crazy. So it's interesting. But yeah, I'm glad it's happening.
Absolutely. 97% of our union makes less than $30,000 a year.
Right.
So, I mean, most of the actors in our union make their money in the back end, and that's why the strike is so important. We don't make our money up front; we make our money in residuals.
Okay. Yeah. So hopefully it'll be good. When the strike is over, we'll all get more money. Because hopefully, right, whenever it ends. But you've used a lot. There's so many techniques, right? I've taken a lot of improv classes. I love improv, and when I direct, I love allowing my actors and comedians to improv. So that to me is so important, I think. But what are some other techniques that you like to use? Are you method? Are you Meisner? Are you combination?
Well, Meisner really is method, but I'm a method actor. I was really lucky that when I was young, it was a very fervent time in New York. So I studied with Lee Strasberg, was my mentor, and I studied with Uta Hagen and Stella Adler. So, you know, the work that I do is very Strasbergian, but, you know, I try to incorporate everything, and, you know, I love to improvise, and, you know, and find things. So, you know, it's just a little, you know, it's a mishmash of everything.
So you like method. You're like Jim Carrey when he did The Man on the Moon, Andy Kaufman. Do you get so method that you continue to do it on set, or?
No, I mean, I'm not like, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis, for example, who, you know, has to live in that character all the time. But you know, I am a method actor, and I do use everything from my life, you know, and I bring it to the work. So, you know, you know, my motto is just to continually find and search for that truth, and you know, that's the core of all method actors.
I see. Yeah, I wanna like get so into character. I feel like that would be annoying though to some people. I think Jim Carrey annoyed people. If you want, he did such a great job of playing Andy Kaufman, but I think people got annoyed with him being in the character the whole
A
time.
good friend of mine wrote that movie.
Oh, okay.
You know, he wrote that, and The People versus Larry Flint, and God, you know, he's really prolific, an incredible writer.
Cool. Yeah, I think for me, I take a lot of same like life experiences and just get into the emotions with it. And I mean, for me, acting I came out here to be an actor, and I'm getting back into it some more again, you know, along with the stand-up, but you know, I had a TV audition. It was so last minute for a dominatrix. I had to run to the sex shop and get like an outfit together. And like now it's all on Zoom, which is great. I kind of like it that you're allowed to record your own audition now on Zoom. I don't think these Zoom auditions are going away. I think it's good and bad, but
Yeah,
what do
you
you
know,
think
there's
about?
pluses and minuses. You know, I don't like self-tapes because I like the personality of meeting casting directors and getting into the room. On the other hand, you know, I can do a self-tape 100 times and choose what I like. So, you know, most of my auditions these days are self-tapes. It's a new plateau, and it's just something that I have to learn how to be better at. But I like being in the room.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the room made me more nervous. I've had like Zoom auditions too live, and it's like a whole nother animal, but I think I actually prefer Zoom. I heard somewhere that SAG's gonna pay actors to audition. Do you think that's gonna happen,
Well,
or?
no, but it's been in our contract for the last 50 years that we have to get paid to audition. Unfortunately, it's never, you know, we've never, you know, really used that clause. But we're supposed to be, you know, in our contract, it says we're paid for auditioning.
Okay, but you don't think it's ever gonna happen? That would be nice, right? Especially now, since we are kind of our own like editor, producer when we set up these self tapes, and it
Oh, I
does.
think it would be real nice. I just don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Well, cool. So you've been in like 20 feature films, plays. Did you start out in New York, or did you start in LA?
I started in New York. I went to college in Washington, D.C., and I acted some in college. And then I moved to New York, and I lived in New York for 20 years. And, you know, it was I was lucky. It was a real fervent time in New York. And, you know, there was some great acting teachers. I did 40 plays in New York. Worked at the Soho Rep a lot. You know, and worked with a couple theater companies. I had my own theater company called the Phoenix Group, which was a great bunch and really talented actors. And, you know, and then meanwhile studied with Strasberg and Uta Hagen. So, you know, I was really lucky. And Susan Batson, who was amazing. Susan's still the best acting
Is
coach
it something?
around.
Oh yeah. Okay. I've studied with different teachers, and again, just the improv. I'm trying to think, is there, I guess we've done like crazy exercises and stuff. Like, is there a certain exercise you like to do with your actors, or something that you think works well, or?
Well, you know, basically, you know, my goal is to find their truth, you know, as deep as possible. So we always start out with some movement where they speak about themselves, and they I don't know if you've ever read Julie Cameron's book. God, I forget the Actor's Way, the Artist's Way.
Artist Way, yes, of course.
Yes. Artist's Way, a great book.
It's a
And
great
she
book.
talks about morning pages, and I think that's a great way to really explore your own truth. So I'm a real big believer in morning pages. And
Right? You mean like writing out, or
yeah,
what?
but the way we do it in class is speaking out,
Oh, okay.
with movement.
Movement, physicality. Okay.
Yeah. So, finding the depth of what we're doing. And, once you find the truth, I mean, and, I think it's a lifetime journey, searching for that truth that's within you. And it changes all the time also.
Interesting, for sure. Yeah, that's true, right? That is true. Would you say, I've heard people say, especially on film, you need to bring it down, or I've been given that note because I can be very animated, right? Just my personality is like that naturally. And do you think, I mean, is that a good advice for film? Do you want to stay still? Is that, because I hear that, right?
I think that, you learn the difference between stage and film, is bringing it in a little bit, but it's still all about telling the truth. So, when if you're big, the director will, that's what the director's there for, to bring it in a little bit. And you're a wonderfully animated human being. You wouldn't want anybody to, to mess with that. Because
Right.
You have all this big personality, and so that's what you want to show all the time, your big personality.
For comedy, yeah. I think I played a small or two in other roles, but I think I mean, it just depends. Like I played a cop. That was interesting on TV. They put me in these like FBI detective female roles now lately, which I don't mind. I like playing the strong alpha female character. My dream role is to be a serial killer, which sounds crazy, but hey, I just think that would be such a neat character, right, to play. What about you?
The first thing I ever did on television was I shot my two brothers
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
in
So you
Rescue
played the bad guy.
911.
Okay.
But I mean, I always say I play mentally ill next door neighbors and mobsters, and somewhere in the middle of that.
Is that what they typecast you as? Mentally ill? That's such a specific type. My God.
Oh, yeah, I'm always somewhat crazy. But and I do play a lot of mobsters. And that's the great thing about working with Thomas, by the way, is that the last 5 films I've done with Thomas Churchill, he's cast me in different ways that are a little bit outside the box. Like the last film I did with him, Amityville Uprising, I played a coroner. So everything is a little bit different than what I usually get cast as, and so that's really exciting.
Isn't it? Yeah, because who wants to be type? I kind of get the typecast thing, but I don't like recently how they want to cast real people. That's like a new trend with these commercials. I hate that. I see it on breakdowns. It's like real teacher. I'm like, well, where's the acting part of it? Like, why did that change?
Right.
It's so weird to me. But I guess with reality TV, I don't know. They don't trust actors maybe to act anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because real people only get nervous and
they get nervous in front of the camera, right?
And they become non-real people.
Exactly. That's exactly. I know, right? You think they would, maybe that'll change again and come back to the actors probably after this. Yeah. So that's a gripe I have with the industry. What else? What else can we talk about? Ask me a question. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, first of all, because I haven't seen you in such a long time and you look so adorable, how is
the Barbie theme?
Barbie's fantastic. By the way, have you seen Oppenheimer and Barbie?
I haven't yet, but I have to check.
Oh, you have to. First of all, Oppenheimer was fantastic. I also saw Songs of Freedom, which I thought was a great movie and had a great message, but the acting wasn't as good. Oppenheimer is brilliant. And I thought Barbie was really good. I was really, it surprised me. It wasn't what I had expected it to be. But Oppenheimer is a 3-hour movie, but it goes by really quickly. And I just thought it was really good. And may I say, Robbie Robertson died today. And
all these people are dying. Who's that?
I incorporate music in everything that I do. And Robbie's music, of course, the band was my favorite band growing up. So, I've forever incorporated Robbie's music into my work. And, so he was special to me.
Wow, I'm sorry. There's so many people dying. It's great. I've had like comedian friends die. It's like, what?
I know, it's crazy, right?
Artists are too sensitive for this world. That's part of it, I think. I don't know.
I know, I always feel like I'm walking around damaged. I'm just a big Band-Aid.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've gotten hardened. I've gotten from everything I've been through in a way, but I'm still sensitive. But yeah, I also have another question for you. Do you, when you're acting in front of the camera, are you cognizant of where the camera is? Do you almost like act? Does this make sense? Do you like act?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's so funny.
Like, do you position your face, right? Like, because now I'm like, oh, this angle I look better. Like, do you do
that?
I
don't.
Or you don't? Okay.
But it's funny. I was just talking about this. My good friend Jeff LeBeau was on General Hospital today. And we were just talking about how you have to be aware. It's almost like a third eye. You're aware where the camera is, but you don't act to the camera.
Don't act to the camera.
No, that's their job. Their job is to pick you up.
Sometimes I feel like I should, because then I'm like, hey guys, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Or if I have a double chin or something. But yeah.
Oh,
fix it in post. You're so pretty. No, I did for my special. We're not using those takes. I was like, oh, can't use that. But yeah.
When I did Swan's Crossing, it was a real education because I did 65 shows. So, when you're on TV for that amount of time, you really get to see, what you do well and what you don't do well.
Oh, right. Yeah, you get to, so you watch yourself. Some people don't watch themselves, but you do.
Yeah, same thing when I was doing Finding Forrester, and, I like to, and Simone, I like to sit in on the dailies because, when I was doing Simone, the thing with Pacino is, Al loves to watch dailies.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I was on set with Al once. I did background just with someone for a film. He was powerful on set. Yeah.
Al's fantastic. And we had so much fun working together because, we come from the same background. But the thing with Al is, he loves watching dailies because every scene is different. When I was working with Sean Connery, every scene was the same. It's very, very good, but it's the same. When you're working with Al Pacino, every scene is different. And so you really have to be alive and react, to that difference every time. So it's really, working with great actors, but just different methods.
I have noticed that. I know what you mean. Great actors will give you different, completely different takes on set. It seems like they'll take risks, right? Yeah.
The thing with Sean, with Connery was that, he was so prepared that he would do 3 takes and he wanted to move on. He was very good in those 3 takes. And with Al, you would do 65 takes and move on, but every take would be different and you'd learn something every take. So there was a real rise in what you did with Pacino.
Interesting. Do you have did I already ask, do you have a really bad auditioning story? Do you have a weird auditioning story? Everyone has one. What's yours?
Yeah. I'll tell you one. I was auditioning for a film and I left. And as I was walking out, I realized I just didn't do everything I wanted to do. And, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
So I went back in and I said to the writer and producer, I said, listen, if you have time, I'd like to do the audition again because I don't think I've done everything that I want to do. and they were great, and they let me work. And it's an interesting thing. It was a television show, and I didn't get it, but they ended up calling me back about 6 months later and giving me a part in something else.
Okay.
And it was because I decided that I wanted to be as good as I possibly could be. And if it meant upsetting them, well, that's life. But I wasn't going to walk out of there and not be as good as I possibly could be.
Very cool.
Tell me your audition story.
God. I have quite a few. Well, this one that really was strange. This was a film with it was like the biggest audition I ever had. And she kept saying I was prettier than the lead. I was too pretty for this role, and I can't be prettier than the star. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So like, I was like, what? And I didn't think that was even true. I was like, I'm attractive. So is the star. Like, I'm not, And then so the casting lady put more makeup on me to try to make me look like crazier or something. It was very bizarre. So I didn't know. I didn't get it. So I was like, oh, wow, that's a thing. I'm like, I'm overqualified to be a movie star. I'm like, what?
That's ridiculous.
But no, that's happened to people too. You can't outshine. That happened to my other friend. He was funny. He's a very funny actor. And they said, you can't be funnier than
I've been, especially on television, I've been in roles where I knew I had to take, a little bit of a back seat. I'll tell you a perfect example. There was a show called The Americans with Sigourney Weaver.
Okay.
And I had this great audition, and I got called back, and I had a great callback, and I didn't get the role. And I was amazingly surprised that I didn't get the role.
Yeah, you were too
Usually
good.
I'm not, but I was. And
Wow.
so I watched it on TV, and I saw that the guy they cast was really boring.
Wow.
And I realized what they wanted. They wanted to make sure that nobody outshone Sigourney.
Stop. Isn't that interesting? That's such a thing here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that. It's funny because if we had done the role together, it would have been better television.
Right.
And and it would have been better for her because it would have been more challenging. But on the other hand, she really shone in what they did.
Right, because if you cast a bad actor, it makes the whole production look bad, I think.
And
right?
he wasn't bad; he was boring.
Well, either
and that's
bad,
he didn't take any risk. It's funny. I was coaching a very famous actor, and right before I went to coach him in a different state, an actor called me up who I'm friends with, who's very, very famous. And he said, let's have lunch. So I sat and I had lunch with him. And he said, it'll be interesting you coaching this guy because he's scared to be great. He's very satisfied with being average. And I went to coach him in a different state. And I was amazed by the fact that he was very satisfied being average. And I said to him, you can't be satisfied being average. You have to want to be great. And he said, my whole career, because he was an actor of color, he said, my whole career is not getting in the way of other people.
Oh, wow.
And we worked together, and he was really terrific. And it was the first time, I think, that he reached out and he became something special, something different than, just being an average gray actor.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I think it's really important, listen, there's going to be times that you get in the way of things, and there's going to be times that you get fired. I've been fired. But on the other hand, there's going to be times when you're incredibly special, and there's somebody who's going to want that, who's going to be excited by that.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. I just make my own projects now for the most part. Hopefully someone will see it and cast me, and I won't have to audition because I don't really
That's fantastic.
That's
I would be in your project anytime.
That's my goal. Oh, good. Good, Barry. Thank you. Yeah, I have a pilot. We'll see if it gets picked up finally.
Cool.
Well, it was great to talk with you. And where can people find you? Are you doing classes online, or where would people find you?
Yeah, basically, they can go to my website, which is barrypapick.com. They could find me at bpapick@aol.com. I'm doing one-on-ones. I have some incredible people that I'm working with right now. One girl just did a movie with Idris Elba. Another girl is on a TV show on Amazon called As We See It, which is amazing. Another girl who I've been working with for like 20 years. She's on a TV show called Will Trent and on ABC. I was just on as The Company You Keep on ABC,
Okay.
which I had a blast doing. That's my advantage, is that I'm still out there working, acting, and I'm coaching some really wonderful people.
Nice. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this episode with me. It's good seeing you, and I'll talk
This
to you
is
later.
my pleasure. I will see you soon, and thank you for having me.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I think now.